Alrighty folks, welcome in. This is BimmerNation.com. Welcome back to another video. And guys, today, welcome to our NBA postseason. It's scary happening. It's great start tomorrow. So we're here with the preview videos here early. We're going to be breaking down a couple of stats here. We are also going to be taking a look at a couple teams here and see what the first round preview is. We'll take a look at the games that we had in the regular season, what they matched up in the regular season. We'll also take a look at some statistical stats, my MVP, my X factor of the series for each team, and we'll also talk about my 3 keys to victory for each team in the first round here. So like I said, if you guys have already, make sure to hit the like, hit that subscribe button, make sure to join the Discord, links in the description, and also follow me on Twitch, where that will be in the description as well. And make sure you guys please do my 2 plugs. Number one, if you guys haven't checked out the NBA GOAT survey, make sure you guys go check that out. Like I said, all these links are in the description. Make sure to check that out. Really would appreciate if you guys take that. It will only take about like 5-10 minutes. And if you guys have welcome, go check out our ESPN bracket fantasy challenge. You guys are watching this on Saturday, so guys, if you guys are watching this, please hurry up and get that done. Like I said, the brackets lock up at 1 p.m. This should be up by Saturday morning. Make sure you guys fill in the brackets by 1 p.m. today because it closes up. Without further ado, guys, do appreciate your support. And without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get it moving. Alrighty folks, here, so like I said, we're going to be doing the Eastern Conference teams first, and then we'll go ahead and switch over to the West. This video should be out Saturday morning, so hopefully you guys would have plenty of time to watch this before the playoffs start. Remember, the playoffs do start today at 1 o'clock, so make sure you guys fill in your brackets, do whatever it takes to win. Alright guys, like I said, this is the how we're gonna rock with it. Up there at the top left is the teams and how they have been this season. That's every single matchup. We'll take around the first matchup, Superstar, X Factor. We rate their offense and their defense, and we gave them the keys to their victory for this series here. So we're starting here with the Pistons, and we're gonna go in order based off matchup. So after this, we'll take a look at the Magic side, just versa, and then we'll do this for every single round. And then the pick show will be out coming up right after this. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Anyway, here the Pistons first time matchup, Orlando Magic here. The Superstar, obviously, Cade Cunningham. But he looked pretty good coming off injury. I think he's really starting to come back to himself, and I think this is a good time for him to really establish that. So I thought he looked pretty good. I thought he looked pretty good coming off that injury, so he still needs to provide an offense, you know, kind of set the tone as he was. Like I said, he's probably one of those favorites to win one of those awards this year for first team. So I really like how he's playing. X Factor, I'm gonna go with Dennis Jenkins. Listen, off this band's bench, when Cade Cunningham was out, I thought this guy was terrific. I thought he was absolutely insane. He made a lot of great plays there on the basketball court. And I thought he was phenomenal once Cade Cunningham was out, and I just think he needs to keep this up. We haven't seen that when Cade Cunningham was in the game. We haven't seen that, so I think it's gonna be a challenge for him. But I feel like if he steps up and he make a couple plays every now and then, I think Detroit will be just fine. Like I said, Orlando, if you look at them statistically here, Orlando, which kind of surprised me, they're 18th ranked offense. I mean, that doesn't really surprise me. That part doesn't surprise me because Orlando's been one of the more not really motivating offenses to watch this year. I mean, like I said, they have key opponents. They have like Dad's Bane, a couple players that I do like in that team, Paulo, but I can really not see him with the best ranked offense. But they are a 12th ranked defense, and that kind of surprises me because you look at the Magic and how they've been this year. They kind of rely on their defense to win basketball games. So in that figure, I thought they're going to be at least top 10 in defensive rating, but nah, they only finished 12th here. So that kind of surprised me. But the Pistons, like I said, they probably should win this matchup regardless. But like I said, it's just things that you just never know here. Pistons, I'm gonna say the 3 keys for me. Just let the offense run through Cade. Like I said, I think you got to trust in your star in this scenario. I think they did. I think they walked away a little bit from that last year in the playoffs. So I want to see Cade Cunningham run the show. That's basically what I want to see. I want to see some dominant and consistent 3-point shooting. I do think the Pistons have the has the edge when we come down to having more depth at the 3-point area. You have guys, Duncan Robinson, Kate Cunningham shoot the ball, Jalen Duren, he looks like he can shoot the basketball. So I like their guys and their depth to shoot the 3 ball and just play clean on defense fouling. Orlando actually does a really good job at drawing fouls, so they need to keep the hands up, keep their hands up, play clean defense. They do that. I think they'll be in pretty good shape here. So that's what we got for Detroit. And speaking of the Magic here, we got the next. Like I said, you guys know what I'm saying. We go like matches for scenarios here. Like I said, the Orlando Magic, both of these two teams went 2-2 in the regular season here, so that's pretty interesting here. Like, so obviously they got Detroit in the first round. The superstar is going to be Paolo Banchero. Like, so I don't know who else you would have as your superstar here. I just think it needs to produce here. Now, you could realistically say this year and say like they like, okay, maybe you're going guys like Des Bane. Okay, maybe he could be your superstar, because I honestly think he's been more efficient than Paolo this year. At the same time, like Paolo's your main guy. Paolo's the guy that you're gonna look at and lead the team to a victory is gonna be Paolo Banchero. So but yeah, he's gonna be that offensive engine. Like I said, he has to be. It feels like if Orlando wants any chances in the series, he's gonna have to be the best player on the basketball court, and he's even gonna have to play Cade Cunningham. That's it. That's just what it kind of what kind of feels like. So it just kind of feels like he has to be the best player on that basketball court to give Orlando a chance here. Desmond Bane is going to be my X factor. Now, I think Desmond Bane has been incredible this year. I think he's been a really good offensive weapon for them. I think his defense has took a step up too from last year, and he just plays a big role. And I think he just needs to stay efficient on offense. If he gets like the open three, he needs to knock those down. If he gets the mid-range pull-up, which he's getting better at, he needs to knock those down. So really like what I'm seeing from Des Bane over these last couple weeks. Basically this entire season. So I like him as the X factor for the Orlando here. Now look at Detroit here. Detroit is a 21st ranked offense. I mean that actually kind of surprised me a little bit. Just because how good Detroit has been this year, that kind of surprised me that it's 21st ranked offense. But here's the thing, Orlando's going to be playing against a hell of a defense. And I do think Orlando's offense is going to be very tested. Like I said, they're coming off a good win against Charlotte, but they're also playing against one of the better defensive teams in basketball. Detroit is ranked second in defense, so I think Orlando's offense is really going to be at hands full. So can the Magic's offense produce against this really good Pistons defense? So we'll see. The key to got number one, match the physicality. You know, the Detroit, they play with a massive physicality type basketball. So I think Orlando, which they are very much comfortable at taking the physicality, they're very much capable of doing that. Orlando's kind of physicality themselves. So I just want them to match that. The limit extra chances and control the defensive glass here. Like I said, Detroit, they're one of the better offensive rebounding teams in the NBA. And I just think just need to limit the extra chances. Don't really give Detroit a lot of chances. Lead them to like one and done. Or you can find different ways to stop them, force turnovers, stuff like that. So I like them defend the Austin grass. And it's just rely on the backcourt. You know, I do like the 3-point shooting of the Magic with Des Bane and Jalen Suggs. I think them two have been pretty good throughout the wing and be able to hit shots. I think we kind of seen that against Charlotte the other day. So I think they have to rely more on that here. But if they get done, maybe they compete. Like I said, probably not going to pick them. We'll see who I pick in our pick show coming up later on today, just right before the games. But yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, moving on here, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers here. They're going to be playing against the Toronto Raptors here in the first round here. I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty damn good first round matchup, to be completely honest with you. I think this is an excellent matchup here. 4 versus 5. Now if you guys looked up, Cleveland did go 0-3 against Toronto, but Cleveland did not have James Harden for either one of those games. Remember those games that came before they got James Harden, before the trade deadline even got here. So it's going to be like a completely different matchup with these two teams. So don't let that fool you. I know they went 0-3, but don't let that fool you. So that record fool you here. Anyway, I think the superstar, it could be really James Harden, Donovan Mitchell. I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell. You know, he led this team ever since the start of the season. He's been really good for them this year. And I think he just needs to continue scoring at a high level here. Like I said, he's been a really good scorer for them. over the course of the years he's been with Cleveland, and I just think he needs to continue doing that. He needs to set the tone. He needs to get the offense moving, and I'm confident. I'm confident he'll do that. So as long as he scores at a high level, putting his teammates in the right spots. The reason why I say that part is because I do think he's gotten better as a facilitator, as a passer. I think he's gotten better at doing that and putting his teammates in the right spot. So I'm gonna lean on him to continue to do that. X Factor can go either way. You can go Evan Mobley, you can go Jared Allen. I'm gonna go with Max Strus with this one. I know it's kind of a hot take, but I like him coming off the bench. This guy just plays a role that I think is just so huge to Cleveland's success, man. He's a critical shooter. He shoots the ball at a really high clip. We've seen it at times with Miami. We've seen it at times here with the Cavs. He's just a really good playmaker. And I think he's another guy. I think that the playmaking has just got a little bit better here. And I think he's really going to need to produce that again, playing against this Toronto team, who's been pretty damn good. They have a good set of playmakers on their team, so I think he needs to produce a little bit of that playmaking, kind of help Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, kind of help them out a little bit here. So I think he needs to produce that again. Toronto, they're right in the middle of the pack, ranked offensively. They're 15th ranked in offense here. They don't have the best offense in the world, but at the same time, like their offense isn't that terrible. But Toronto is pretty damn good defensively, and I was definitely not expecting this, but by the time I saw this, but they're a 5th ranked defense. I was not expecting that. I thought they were gonna be like at least 12, something like that. But Toronto, yeah, they have a pretty good damn defense. So I think Cleveland, this is their offense that's going to be very tested here. I just think for Cleveland, I think Toronto is I think they kind of slack in size. So I do think Cleveland needs to dominate in the paint area with Allen and Mobley especially. They need to capitalize 3-point value on offense. I just think they need to rely on that. Toronto doesn't really have the quick guards to go out here and guard all these shooters, so I think the Cleveland Cavaliers need to do that. And I just think Harden's playmaking ability. I think that's going to be a big part of this. Like I said, the Raptors have a big defense, and you're going to need somebody else to facilitate the offense besides Donovan Mitchell here. So I like James Harden playmaking ability. If you can get that and it's scoring, I think the Cavs might be fine here. Remember, they have home court advantage in this series, so we'll see what happens, but really like the Cavs in this spot. All right, and they're going to be taking on against the Toronto Raptors here. Like I said, they went 3-0 against the Cleveland Cavaliers this season, but like I said, there was no James Harden in that series. But anyway, here, hold on. All right, there we go. I was looking forward to the next video where we do the Western Conference here, but like I said, Toronto, they'll be playing against Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round here, as we said. Superstar here for me is going to be Scottie Barnes here. You can easily go with Brandon Ingram. I'm not gonna disagree with you if you want to put that's Brandon Ingram here, but my superstar is going to be Scottie Barnes, and I do think he's going to neutralize and contain the Cavs playmaker James Harden, and I do think Scottie Barnes is a good defender, so I do think he does have some upside to like limit James Harden and limit Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, are they going to stop him? Probably not, but they can limit him to some degree. So I do like that for Scottie Barnes. I do think it will take whatever it takes to win here. So I like him. Now the X Factor could go 2 ways here. I was getting ready to give the X Factor to somebody else and made it quickly. I was going to give the X Factor to like a guy like Brandon Ingram or something like that. But I'm going to go with Manuel Quickie for right now. I'm basically relying on his health. I don't know how healthy he is, but if he is healthy, this guy is an absolute demon when it comes down to that 3-point line. I think he shot the ball one of the best in the league this season here, and if he's healthy, he can definitely provide some offense and really give Scottie Barnes and you got Brandon Ingram a lot. And yeah, I do think he can give a lot more offensive potential to Toronto's offense here. So I like him from a X Factor, but like I said, he has to be healthy. I was great to give it to like Brandon Ingram, but I didn't know how he made it quickly. I really looked at him, but like I said, I didn't know how healthy he was. So I'm gonna go Manuel Quickie for right now. For right now, Cleveland, they're a 6th ranked offense. Like I said, they've been a pretty good offensive team over the course of the season here. They've been finding different ways to generate offense ever since they got James Harden. I'm pretty sure that offensive rating did jump up a little bit. So we will see about that. And they are also a 16th ranked defense. Now you look at that, it doesn't really look like the best, but Cleveland's defense, they're kind of like the They're kind of like the Pistons. I mean, no, they're kind of like the Magic. The team hasn't really been that great defensively to start this year, but as the season went on, they've been getting better and better and better. So I do like their defense. They've been getting a little bit better now ever since they've been on the hot streak here. Raptors, I think for me, I think they need to open the floor. They need to use all weapons on offense. They need to use everybody because they have a lot of talent on this team, and I do think they have enough scoring to facilitate and spread, spread the core around a little bit. So I do like for them to use all 5 of the weapons, whatever they have on the court. They should be able to use all of them. Don't really have to rely on one person. I think this team has that flexibility. I do think they have to win the turnover battle against the Cavs if they really want to give themselves a chance in series. They have to win the turnover battle. They can't really let Cleveland continue to push them around a little bit. Donovan Mitchell, James Harden. I just think the Cavs have a little bit too much playmakers to at the point that I don't like if we play straight up, I think Cleveland's just going to score a lot more than Toronto. So I just think they need to win the turnover battle, and I just think they need to be flexible. They need to be flexible on offense here. You can use Brandon Ingram for certain situations. You can use Scotty Barnes for situation. You can use Quickly if he's healthy for some situations. So, like I said, I do like this talent all around Toronto. It's just based on really how they use it. So, like this scenario for Toronto. Let's see how they do in this first round. All right, moving on here, we got the New York Knicks, the 3 seed. They're going to be taking on against the Atlanta Hawks here in the first round, where they went 2-1 against them in the regular season here. Like I said, Jalen Brunson, he's going to be the guy, right? I think that's pretty obvious. I think that's pretty obvious to everybody. Jalen Brunson, he's been one of the crunch time players. He's been one of the great players in crunch time. I think he continues to maintain that playmaking ability, and I do think over the course of the years he's gotten better with his playmaking. So yeah, like I said, Jalen Brunson, he's going to be the superstar. He's going to be the offensive front runner for this team. And I do think he's going to be leading the way in scoring. So like the way how Jalen Brunson provides for his offense here. Roster. I don't know if I said Rooster or as roster. Just gotta make sure I got my spelling right here. X Factor. I'm gonna go with Josh Hart as the X Factor here. I think he's been the exact definition of X Factor for this basketball team. I think he's been pretty good on both sides of the ball. He's just he's huge. Hold on. Let me see if I can fix that here. Yeah, but yeah. There you go. Anyway, here he's just huge for them. He makes plays on both sides of the ball. Every single time to clutch game, he makes plays. He makes the diving plays. He brings that consistent effort, and I think that's what the Knicks need. Playing against a team like Atlanta, who is a pretty good damn all-around team. I mean, they've been getting better over the course of the season here, but Atlanta, they wasn't really so good offensively. They're 14th ranked offensively right now, which definitely could be. You definitely could look older. You could definitely look over that, but at the same time, I wouldn't recommend overlooking this Atlanta offense. I think the Atlanta offense has been better than what people think. So I do think that will prevent a challenge for the Knicks. So I do like them. They're a 14th ranked offense right now. They are a 9th ranked defense. Like I said, Atlanta has been pretty damn good ever since they've been on that big winning streak at the end of the season. They've been relying on their defense a lot more to win games, and they have definitely boosted up the rankings ever since they got out of that, staying at 500 teams, stuff like that. So really do like their ability to style guys on defense. So for the Knicks, I'm gonna say win the battle in the paint. I'm pretty much they have to. They are the much bigger team than Atlanta. I think they have more guys to go to in the paint than Atlanta. I just think that's an area that they need to win. They need to win. Karl-Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson. I just think those two individually needs to lock down the paint. They need to control the paint. They need to do whatever it takes. So I like them too. Keep the game at their pace. Like I said, Atlanta does play at one of the more faster pace in the NBA, and the Knicks do play typically at a slower pace. So it just kind of feels like if they keep with that same pace, they should be able to look at some options here, and they should be able to figure out, what they want to do, or how they want to game plan. So I didn't give it that place, and they just keep Atlanta secondary. Like I said, Atlanta does have some pretty good, nice players off their bench, and the Knicks defense is overall pretty good as well. So it just kind of feels like you want to limit Atlanta's depth, because it feels like if they rely on their starters, that's when they could be in some sorts of a trouble here. But like I said, it should be a pretty interesting series here. So that's what we got from the Knicks. And then they're going to be taking on against the Atlanta Hawks here. They went 1-2 against them this season. Like I said, Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson's the guy. He really is the guy. I like him. I ever since Trae Young has been out, this man has been the main to-go #1 option. I think he's really elevated his game. I'm just a fan of his. I'm a fan of the way how he plays. He's good on both sides of the ball. He's been pretty good. He's been pretty good defensively as well. So I like him. And I think he's definitely going to need to produce that again, playing against a pretty strong Knicks defense, or I should say a pretty good Knicks overall talented team. So I think he needs to step up. I think he will. And if he doesn't, I think Atlanta's kind of cooked here. So I do like Jalen Johnson to have to be my superstar of the series for Atlanta. X Factor, I'm gonna go with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Now, if you guys don't know this guy, he played with Minnesota these last couple years, and I thought he was absolutely fantastic for him. I thought he made a lot of great defensive plays. His hustle, he's kind of like a Josh Hart. He makes the hustle plays. He's not the best scorer, but I do think he makes the plays that you need him to make. And I think he's just going to need to be that secondary option besides Jalen Johnson. I think with him completely healthy, I think he does a really good job of stretching the floor, becoming that second option. And like I said, he is a really good defender as well. So I like him to defend maybe like a guy like Jalen Brunson or a top offensive guy on the Knicks. So I like that. He's going to be my X factor. Like I said, the Knicks, they're a pretty good damn overall team. They have a third-ranked offense for the reason. You have a touchdown player, Jalen Brunson. Karl Anthony Towns has been picking it up offensively, and the Knicks have so many guys off their bench that can come up, light up the scoreboard here. So the Knicks, they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good damn offensively the entire season. And then defense, their 7th-ranked defense. They have them twin towers of Towns and Robinson. They have a lot of guys that can pack the paint, make it tough on defenses, or opposing offenses. So it kind of feels like that's kind of like where they're at here. For the Hawks, I mean, they got to limit Brunson's scoring efficiency. Like I said, Jalen Brunson, he's probably one of the more efficient scorers in today's game. So kind of feels like if the Hawks have a chance to win the series, they're going to have to limit his scoring and his damage here. They did, but I do think they need to rely on their bench. I think it needs to be a lot more consistent. Atlanta's bench was not that consistent this year. I feel like if they can keep that, I think they'll be just fine here. So, so yeah, we will see. I think they'll be a little bit more consistent on that. And I just think they need to protect the paint. Like I said, you're going to have a mismatch there. You know, you're going to be playing against Mitchell Robinson, Karl Anthony Towns here. And I just think they need to protect that paint. They need to keep that protected. If they do that, I think they'll be fine here. So I like them to protect the paint here. I think that's going to be another crucial thing here. But that's what we got for the Hawks. Alrighty, folks, last but not least, we have our last first round matchup here. We got the Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers here. Sixers coming out of the play-in. Celtics are a 2 seed here. These two teams actually went 2-2 in the regular season, but remember, none of these games, just like the Cavs scenario, none of these games involved Jason Tatum. So we'll see how they play when they actually have Jason Tatum on the basketball court here. Superstar, I was back and forth between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I was back and forth between the two, but I'm gonna stick with the original. I'm gonna go with Jaylen Brown. He's been here. He's been here for more games than Jason Tatum. Even though he is looking like himself again, I think he still needs a little bit more time to ramp up. And even though he looked good, don't get me wrong, he looked good. He averaged like over 20 a game. He looked good, but I'm gonna go with Jaylen Brown. With Tatum getting healthier, I mean, I think he continues to be the #1 option here. I don't necessarily think he goes anywhere. I think he does. Jaylen Brown, like I said, I talked about him before. I think Jaylen Brown could be like a top 5 NBA player. Matter of fact, I think he should be in the MVP conversation. I don't think he'll win it, but I do think he should be in that MVP conversation here. So I do like Jaylen Brown's MVP. X Factor, I'm going Peyton Pritchard. I think this guy has been absolutely phenomenal here. This season, I think he's really stepped up his game here. He's electrifying off the bench, even as a starter. I think even when he started a couple games this year, I thought he's been awesome. So, so I'm gonna go Peyton Pritchard here for my X Factor. He just needs to come off the bench. Just basically do what he's been doing. Come off the bench, provide a spark for the offense. Can make some good plays every now and then on defense. And if he does that, if he does Peyton Pritchard things, I think he'll be just fine. Remember, Philadelphia has the 17th ranked offense. Now that is questionable. But I know the 17th ranked offense. You could look at that. It's like, okay, that's not that great. But at the same time, here they have a 17th ranked offense because they haven't been healthy. Maxey hasn't been healthy. George hasn't been healthy. Embiid hasn't been healthy. They haven't been healthy the whole season. So this team actually, if you look at it, has a better offense than I think of the 17th ranked offense. So it's gonna be pretty interesting here. 16th ranked defense. I mean, I can absolutely see that happen. I mean, we'll see, um, but yeah, we'll see. 16th ranked defense. We'll see what happens there. But Sixers are just right in the middle of the pack. They're right in the middle of the pack of everything here. So Celtics. I mean, I just think they have the limit Maxi spacing on the court. Um, it just kind of feels like if they do that, I think they should be okay. Like I said, they probably are the better team. They should be the better team. So so yeah, as long as they limit Maxey, I'm pretty sure we don't know what's going on with Embiid and Paul George. So as long as they do that, I think they'll be okay. They're gonna let the Jays dominate on offense. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, we all know what they're capable of. And then they gotta crush Philly in the rebounding department, especially if there's no Joel Embiid. If there's no Joel Embiid, then the Sixers only have Andre Drummond. And if that's the case here, then the Celtics, with their size advantage, should be able to absolutely dethrone the Sixers in the paint here. So like I said, the Celtics should win this game. They should win this series, but as long as they do those three things, I think they'll be just okay. Alrighty, folks, and last but not least, we have the Philadelphia 76ers, last team here in the Eastern Conference. And like I said, next video, we'll go ahead and take a look at the Western Conference. We'll basically do the exact same thing here. I might actually upload this tonight and then get the one up for this tomorrow early morning, and then you guys will get the big show around 11 o'clock midnight or whatever, something like that. I'm trying to figure out the schedule here. Anyway, here, like I said, the first round matchup is the Boston Celtics. Here, the superstar for me is going to be Tyrese Maxey, and I think that one is pretty obvious here. So, and there's a couple questions here. You could definitely argue Paul George or Joel Embiid, but I just think it's Maxey. I think Maxey's just been the #1 main facilitator on this offense. And especially if Paul George should be available, but if Embiid's out, I think he's going to have a very heavy workload for the 76ers, especially playing against this Boston team, who has they're just a really good overall team. They have a really good offense, they have a really good defense. Boston doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses themselves, so I do think individually this is going to be very tough on Philadelphia, but I do think there's a case it could be very easy. Like I said, let's see who we pick at our pick show coming up for tomorrow. But yeah, I just think he's gonna have a heavy workload, whatever he's gonna be playing against. So that would be pretty interesting there. X Factor, I'm gonna go with BJ Edgecombe. I don't know if I pronounced his name right. If I don't, apologize in advance, but I like the way how this guy played. I really do. Coming off the bench, he's a rookie. I think he's been really good. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's been really good for them. I can call him the X Factor. I think he's been that great. He was really good against Boston this year. He actually cooked up against Boston this year. So yeah, I'll give him credit. I thought he was amazing, and I think he needs to keep that. I think he needs to keep doing that same thing. If he keeps doing that same thing, and while Joel Embiid is out, I can see him maybe putting the pressure off from Tyrese Maxey. Like I said, Tyrese Maxey is going to have a very heavy workload playing against a really good defense. So Philadelphia, if Embiid is out, has guys stepping like Paul George and VJ. I think they might stand a chance here. So I'm gonna go with them as my X factor here. Like I said, Boston, they're just a complete overall team. I do think this is gonna be a very tough matchup for Philadelphia. Boston does have a 2nd ranked offense and a 4th ranked defense. That's pretty damn strong for a team. So like I said, I think it's gonna be tough for Philadelphia to get this one around, but we'll see. And then my keys to victory here: keep the volume scoring. Maxey, George, and Embiid, if he returns, I'm about to put if there, but if he returns, I think that if the big three return, I think they just need volume, high scoring. I think Boston's one of those teams that can win even with these three going off because they're that team. But yeah, they need those three to go off. Defense, it needs to be elite. If your defense is not elite, you're going to lose to Boston. Like, the Boston has one of the most effective offenses in the NBA. So it kind of feels like if your defense is not locked in, you have no chances of winning this. And Embiid's timeline for return, it kind of feels like Embiid needs to return sooner rather than later. That's just what it kind of feels like for Velvet having even have a chance in this one. So we'll see how it goes. But like I said, maybe the odds are not looking in favor. Like I said, we'll see who we pick in our pick show. But yeah, that'll be it. But without further ado, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Anyway, I'm Hop. Thank you guys for watching on time. Appreciate everybody's support. And we'll see you guys next time. This is BigNation.com. Peace out. Stay safe. Check out the Western Conference one. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.